All right, buckle up, folks. It's gonna be a wild one. Hello, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video. And Sean D has bribed me to play Invasion of Gobakhan? Gobakhan? Death's Shadow. So let's start with the namesake cards, and then we're going to come back and explain the battle. So, Death's Shadow, and to a slightly lesser extent, Scourge of the Skyclaves, reward you for lowering your own life total. So, we are going to be lowering our own life total intentionally with cards like Street Wraith, Reanimate, and Thoughtseize. And this version is in fact going to go a little bit deeper than normal, opting to play City of Brass as well as Tarnished Citadel. Yeah, we're going deep today. And our secondary Death Shadow is Scourge of the Skyclaves. Ignore the kicker part, 7 mana is not happening in Legacy. So, this thing's power and toughness are equal to 20 minus the highest life total among players. So unfortunately, this one does count both you and your opponent. But if you punch your opponent a handful of times with some smaller creatures first, it'll get big pretty quickly. So let's go to this whole battle thing. So starting with a battle is a thing you play, and when it enters the battlefield, you get its front side. And it'll have a number of basically loyalty counters from a planeswalker in the bottom right corner. And you could attack this thing just like you could a player or planeswalker. And if you deal the amount of damage to it equal to that number in the corner, you get to flip it to the backside and notably cast it. So this thing on the front is like oh no, what is the creature, the 3/1 flyer that does this? Elite Spellbinder. Didn't have to look it up, just had to pause the video for a second to think about it. It is essentially an Elite Spellbinder effect. You can look at your opponent's hand, exile a non-land card from it as long as it remains exiled. It costs 2 more to cast, and they could cast it from exile. On the backside, at the beginning of your end step, you can put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that attacked this turn, and you can sacrifice this to give creatures you control hexproof and indestructible until the end of turn. So, let's ignore the question why. Let's just accept the fact that we're doing this, okay? Let's just accept the fact that we're trying battles in Legacy as a thing that is maybe not the best to do, but let's just accept that. I think the idea here is that this plays pretty well with a Dragon Rage Channeler. You have a 3/3 Dragon Rage Channeler, you rip a card out of your opponent's hand, you attack this, gunk it, and then you have a threat that scales up. And then the next turn you attack for 4, then 5, then 6, yada, 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 yada. While still having something that can protect your big dumb card that you're hoping to win the game with. I think that's kind of the theory here. But folks, I'm gonna let you know ahead of time. I'm real worried about this deck. I don't think conceptually this deck is going to work at all. So, giving you some points of reference for why I'm worried. This is a 15 land legacy deck. And normal Death Shadow, like blue black Death Shadow, is an 18 land deck for comparison. And I get that we have some deck thinning and that we have a couple of random Lotus Petals in the deck. But Death Shadow is an 18 land deck in an 8 cantrip deck. So, you can keep 1 land Ponder, use the Ponder to find a second, and then play a very reasonable game of Magic. Whereas here, do I keep the opening hand that is going to just have 1 land? That cuts me off of these cards, that cuts me off of Hardcast Grief, that cuts me off of a Tombstalker, although Tombstalker's going to be cut off in the early game for different reasons. Sorry, friend, you're no Murktide Regent. So I'm worried about the mana count in this deck. I get what the deck is trying to do. This is going to be very good at enabling Dragon Rage Channeler. Although there's fewer instants here than there would be in traditional blue-black Death Shadow, because you're missing out on Brainstorm and you're instead replacing it with more sorceries like Reanimate, Thoughtseize. So like that's a thing. And I'm also worried that just like the juice isn't worth the squeeze with this battle specifically. Sean built this deck list basing it on another sort of fringe build of Shadow. So like there is a basis for this deck, and maybe I'm worried for no reason, but I'm gonna be playing the games today in the tournament practice room because I just have a sneaking suspicion I'm gonna want to edit this deck a lot after a round or two. As far as the sideboard here goes, who hurt you, Sean? Which artifact deck hurt you that you want to have 4 meltdowns in here? This is such a targeted sideboard. Like, this deck knows what it wants to be. 4 artifact hate cards, 4, like, storm hate cards, 4 pyroblasts, 3 surgicals, or, well, okay, one's a fairy. And then one spice card, Righteous War, which is a card I've never seen before. White creatures you control have protection from black. Black creatures you control have protection from white. So essentially, this is a way so that your creatures never die to like Source of Plowshares, Path to Exile, to Fairy, all that sort of jazz. So I'm scared, but I'm really hoping that I'm wrong and we do the thing and get to shadow people really hard. And if I end up with a super, super giant Death Shadow and I get a sweet screenshot out of it, today will have been worth it. Anyway, if you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing, and if you're a regular, throw me a like before this video begins. It is the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Alright. This isn't a particularly strong set of Dragon Rage channelers, but we'll see if we can make this work. Alright. No play from my opponent. Okay, all of a sudden this hand got a lot better. Let's Blood Crypt, Shock, drop the Dragon Rage channeler, play a Bauble, get some things going. Do I want that? The black card to pitch to Grief. I think I'm planning on hard casting this later. I think I'd rather just bin that for a creature in Graveyard. And I think I will just pass the turn here. In case my opponent is playing discard, I don't think I need to crack Bauble immediately. Swamp and Mountain. Might be playing against another brew over there. Dark Ritual. Red-black initiative, maybe? What the fuck is this? Beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that opponent has 2 or fewer cards in hand. Loudborn Muse deals 3 damage to that player. Pox? Not Pox, that's not what I meant to say. Like a rack deck? Alright, play 4 color. You have my attention. What is this card? Target opponent discards a card at random, then discards a card. Okay. Alright. Like, I see where we're going. I don't know whether or not I need to do this. I think I do it next turn. I think I go ahead and play a Dragon Rage Channeler. Oh yeah, that's going to do weird priority pass things. I'm going to have to keep that in mind. We're going to Chain Lightning this Lavaborn Muse and just say no to that. I'm looking to bin, yes. Alright, yeah. I was looking to bin a new card type, and then I was going to have 6 power in play on turn 2. That's a fair concession. No sideboard. Let's run back the game 1 deck and see where this goes. Yeah, this hand's totally fine. This just cycles a Street Wraith into a Reanimate. And you want that? Or is this a budget attempt? Unsure. I've lost my Thoughtseize. Alright, good game. Let's not count that one. Okay, how much can I lower my life total? If my opponent plays a creature... Well, okay, let's not count on them playing a creature. So I can lower my life total by 5 as of right now. Isn't enough to get this online. And lower it by 9 if Snuff Out is valid and I have a redraw. Okay, my opponent will probably play a creature. That's a-okay. Let's start here. Just get a better feel for what's going on with the hand. Dragon Rage Channeler. Turn all of a sudden got all sorts of weird to play. The way that I optimize my value is like this. Blood Crypt, Shock, play this, then play Petal afterwards so that I can surveil into the graveyard. Yeah, I don't want to grief right now. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 with Artifact. Get another surveil. Yeah. Then I will go ahead and snuff out their Dragon Rage Channeler. We'll keep that on top. And I will blow the Lotus Petal to go ahead and Thoughtseize. I actually don't like how I've played this turn. I think it's real awkward if they have Wasteland. Ooh. Right Dragons. I don't think I care about those. I think I'm just going to take Bolts. I am at a low-ish life total already. I'll go ahead and draw that. And then the hope is just that I resolve a Death Shadow next turn. Ooh, Chain Lightning. That I resolve a Death Shadow next turn and just ride it to victory. But yeah, my life total is kind of low. Like, awkwardly low, in fact. If I pay 4 life, I am at 5. My opponent has 2 bolt effects, so I can't actually get rid of that Sprite Dragon. Awkward. Oh my god, my opponent didn't realize that this is flying on turn 1. Yeah. We're gonna drag that one out just so everyone can see that. It's all good. Alright. New Bauble is fine. At this point, I'll probably be looking for a second land to play this. No. That goes into my graveyard, and that's a battle for the purposes of these, by the way. Take a look at what's going on over there. Ponder, that's fine. Play a Shadow, which very notably is a 4/4 right now, meaning that it does survive a Bolt. I redraw. A new Shadow is fantastic. There is a Ponder. My opponent did have a Bolt plus Chain Lightning line on Death's Shadow that they did not take. I could snuff out my own creature here to attack for 8. I want to do that. Just attack for 8, and then my opponent is dead. And I'll have a second Death Shadow too. Bright Dragon plus Lightning Bolt's real awkward if my opponent has third land. I don't think I fire it off. It's tempting. Ew. This is a 4/4 right now. It's actually about to be bigger. I am going to get my hit in for 4 this turn. Dropping my opponent to 12. Now an 8/8 means it's actually better than the Death Shadow right now, although this is dazable. Possible I'm not supposed to play it, but it's worked out here. That is a Murktide Regent. Kind of awkward if my opponent has Force of Will over there, huh? I think I'm forced to go for this. So let's snuff out the Murktide. Okay, everything just worked. I legit think I won that game because my opponent accidentally threw away a Sprite Dragon. Right? Because, like, I'm at 5. A Lightning Bolt to my face puts me at 2. What is a Prowess trigger? Technically Prowess trigger. A trigger from Sprite Dragon is lethal if my opponent just doesn't attack that first turn because Dragon Rage Channeler is forced to attack. 4x Pyroblast. Let's go, baby. Battle feels exceptionally slow here. I don't have heuristics for playing Death Shadow versus Delver. Like, I just don't play much Shadow. I can cut the battles that are an off-color card that also feel very slow. Or I can cut some of the life loss stuff like Thoughtseize. My whole hope is to make it to the end game and just win with the Death Shadow that my opponent can't answer. Opponent's deck is going to be so fast with Sprite Dragons and like extra burn spells. I think those are going. Pitch one Grief, maybe? Not sure. I feel like I should pitch a Grief or a Great Wraith, and I just don't really know what. How much do I believe in this Dragon Rage Channeler? I think I believe in a double removal spell hand enough to keep this. Alright, there's a Dragon Rage Channeler from the other side of the battlefield, and I just kind of have to immediately decide whether or not I just want to Chain Lightning it. I think I do. using Chain Lightning now before my opponent can redirect it is probably good. I'm very much not going to be at a life total advantage in this match. Alright, straight to the graveyard. It's a possible my opponent is essentially playing a blue-red burn deck rather than like a blue-red Delver deck. I don't think I've seen counter spells yet, so they may or may not actually be over there. Wasteland's rough. I do not want to get wastelanded with this mana base. Like, I know I have 3 lands in this opening hand, and I just randomly drew another, but like that is very much not going to be the norm. Alright. I guess we go deeper. Ow. I get to deploy a Dragon Rage Channeler. I only have 2 card types in graveyard. I have a third pretty easily. There's also just going to be some tension here between my Tombstalker and my Dragon Rage Channeler. Just kind of see how this ultimately ends up playing out. Ooh, that is a shuffle off that Ponder and no land. I get to do stuff now. I get to surveil. That's just going to the graveyard, I think. So now the next question is, do I Lightning Bolt my opponent to try to attack for 3 this turn? If I hit a creature for a battle, I can just do that. Let's try that while my opponent is stuck on mana. Like, let's try to capitalize on this here. Creature. Into graveyard. Lightning Bolt resolves. My opponent's at 17. I will attack for 3. Bringing my opponent to 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could Tombstalker this turn. I think I'm just going to hold up Pyroblast, though, and do Tombstalker next turn when it's safer, after I get a Dragon Rage Channeler attack. Also think there's a very good chance that I just Pyroblast a cantrip. A redirect? Probably worth the Lotus Petal to redirect here. Redirecting a Chain Lightning doesn't happen much. Let's go. Send it to your face. It costs me a life. I don't think that's that big of a deal. I'm a Death Shadow deck at the end of the day. I think I do this one untapped this turn. And play a Tombstalker. Video Brass. Leave Artifact in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Artifact and land in there. Oh, sorry, I need to take one more? I thought I took this. Okay, there we go. A Force of Will, you say? Don't look at my life total, though. Don't look at it. That was a good Pyroblast. Is it met by a good Daze? Oh shit, it's met by a Force of Will pitching Murktide Regent. Okay. My opponent may now be favored in this game. Like, we're both on 1 card. My opponent's card is not a land, and my card is a land, and they just took a draw step. I don't feel good here. Like, I have some great top decks. Alright. Yeah, not paying the life. I am just going to pay that out, though, because, like, I'm not a Brainstorm deck. The bluffing is worth something, but I think not having to tap these lands for mana is worth more. Ooh. So it seems like my opponent is sitting on either counter spells or things like Murktide Regent and Sprite Dragon that cost 2. So they are at 6. They are, in theory, facing down lethal because of this Lightning Bolt. I value the Surveil incredibly highly here, so I'm going to go ahead and fire this off. I will top any creature here. Opponent's at 3. If they have a bolt to just finish this off, they do not. GG. Yeah, I'll keep this hand. This hand's sweet. Turn 1 Grief and Reanimate it is pretty good. I don't know if I pitch the Reanimate or the Grief, or the Thoughtseize. I think I pitch a Reanimate here because I can Thoughtseize again if I need to, depending on what the matchup is. Oh, it's High Tide. What is this one? Draw 3, untap 2 lands, discard a card. Got it. I'm going to take the cantrip here. Make the early game worse. I will do this, reanimate, target Grief. Yeah, and my opponent is just going to concede this one because, like, they have lost their ability to have lands. All right. Tournament practice room's great, folks. Okay, this is a no-lander. These sorts of cards don't replace lands, even though they're air quotes free. This is a one-lander that's pretty reliant on Dragon Rage Channeler to do stuff. I can very much pave the way for it. I think on the draw, I keep this, pitching this, and hope that between a draw step, a Bauble, and a second... What the fuck is that? Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them, put it in your hand. Okay. It is crazy. Alright, it came back. It's all sorts of crazy today. Lavaborn Muse. Now a weird tap land. Battle goes into the graveyard. I just don't have physically enough going on here. I guess I should have griefed my opponent already. To get a better idea of what they were doing. Not that leaving up Lightning Bolt is very likely to be correct, but I should have done this before I played out Dragon Rage Channeler, so I don't expose that to removal. Unsubstantiate. Turn target spell or creature to its owner's hand. Hey. Alright, YouTube. What is my opponent playing? Weird Standstill? Is that why you want a bounce spell? Well, what's going on with this? Alice is a really fucking good card here. Historically in Days Undoing. Okay. That is randomly going to wipe the graveyard as well. Oh man, I'm fucked. I don't get Death's Shadow this game. I guess I'm okay if I draw a land with one of my next 2 draws here. Never didn't have it. Alright. Street Rate's actually very good, because that's a redraw that eventually makes this larger. Battle, creature, artifact. I think I value putting this in play now, rather than Dragon Rage Channeler and Lightning Bolt to Surveil 2. I think I just value getting this into play rather than trying to use Chalice to get extra cards into graveyard. Like, I just want this so that if my opponent echoes, I have something somewhat reasonable. Awkward side of doing this is that this is going to be vulnerable to Lightning Bolt. Even after this next point of damage, it'll still just be a 3/3. Alright, no third land, so no echo. Alright. This is a strange turn of Magic. I'm not going to say this is the strangest turn of Magic that I've ever played. Fire. So, fun thing here. Battle's a card type. Lightning Bolt target you. I will let that get countered by Chalice of the Void, making this a 3/3. Prevailing. An uncastable card. Into the graveyard. So I don't want to start tarnish Citadeling yet, because this thing's power is based on the highest. So until I dealt combat damage to my opponent was the highest. Now I can tarnish Citadel to grow this thing at instant speed. And my opponent doesn't have another land drop. So 3 damage. I go to 12. That thing gets bigger. And I'm still the highest here, so I can do it again if I would like. Not currently need to, as I am currently presenting 11 damage. There is a Petty Theft. Does occur. Opponent has a lot of bounce spells. They're at 8. And I will go ahead and redeploy this. It's lethal on its own next turn. And Brazen Borrower can only block creatures with flying. Since this is already lethal, I don't feel the need to back my own life total anymore here. The goddamn Bounce Factory. My opponent goes to 5. They are losing ground every turn, so I don't really get what the payoff here is. Like, that's fine. But, like, why do you want to be playing all these bounce spells rather than, like, Lightning Bolts, Chain Lightnings, Swords of Plowshares, or whatever? Like, I get that part of that has to do with Chalice, but, like, why is the juice worth the squeeze over there? That is what I currently do not understand. Days Undoing is under there. 3 Grief's not bad. Dragon Rage Channeler is going to trade with one of these Brazen Borrowers. Alright, I have to attack each turn if able. Thing. Yep. We trade. Tarnish Citadel. Absolutely brutal. This is a Grief that I'm just playing as a 3/2 threat. I am not great versus Chalice. Lotus Petal's not great here. Go ahead and hit my opponent for 3. Bring them to 1 and pass the turn. None of these plays really make a lot of sense right now. I guess I can play out the Lotus Petal because of Days Undoing. Yep. I am in trouble if my opponent just like has a couple of bounce spells to get this Grief out of play. I have dealt 11 points of damage to myself. Alright, there is a Days Undoing. My opponent did not attack there. And this can only block creatures with flying. So yeah, that was not an out there. So I want Pyroblasts very, very, very clearly. I think that's it. I think I just lean a little bit away from 1-drops in sideboarding if possible. Like, I still will have decent number of technically castable threats here. I don't know that I play Meltdown. Like, I just don't have Brainstorm, Ponder, Preordain, those sorts of things to manipulate for them. I think I'm fine with keeping this card in here. 2 of those Chain Lightnings are out for 2 of the Pyroblasts. I'm gonna get rid of all the Thoughtseizes on the draw. I don't know. That makes my non-Dragon Rage Channeler openers pretty weak. Maybe I have to play a couple of Meltdowns. Maybe not all of them. Maybe I play 3 of them so that I have outs to Chalice and go down one of these. The discard just like doesn't seem super great versus a Days Undoing. So again, these free cards are not lands are really rough on mulligan decisions. But if this is land, all of a sudden this hand is absolutely batshit insane, right? But I just can't take that risk. Hey, same problem with this hand. Go to 5. Hey. Arna Citadel back, 1 Bauble back, probably. Keep an out to an early Chalice, but not the second land, so that my Dragon Rage Channeler can still have real text. This could be scary. That's that land, sure. Okay, my opponent's just passing their turn, that's fine. Bad lands. Like to me. Or sorry, Blood Crypt. Shadow Dot deck. I just can't let my opponent Breacher me this turn. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and let them do that. I'm going to let them attack for 3 to lower my life total intentionally. The Volk. Fuck. I'm ready for that. Resolves. Can I win? I have to win off of Dragon Rage Channeler now. Well, that's not good. Oh, Death Shadow. We're a touch too late. That's okay. This turn might be fucking savage. So, play a Bauble. Yes. Absolutely put that on top. I need those sorts of cards. Look at my opponent's top card. Days Undoing. I will cast a Meltdown. Meltdown is going to destroy that Chrome Mox and take my opponent off of their blue mana. They have 2 cards in hand. We'll see if one of them is a basic island. If it's not, I probably just win. Fuck! Come on! Come on! That's just rude. Okay. The Tombstalker becomes a new plan here. So, Grief is awkward. I'm always playing a land drop. I can never get to 4 types in graveyard this turn without doing some really stupid shit. So I'm not going to attempt it. Certainly don't have any answers to a Blood Moon in this deck. A Braid. 3 damage to my creature just occurs. I can't stop that. It seems like my opponent just tapped wrong. Yeah, do I want to bolt in response just for mana efficiency? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I have a couple of Lotus Petals that I could eventually find to cast something like Scourge of the Skyclaves. I don't think I want to grief my opponent just yet. I think I want to grief my opponent the turn before I try to put critical card into play. Do I want this to resolve? My hand sucks. I'm going to counter it. It's possible. It is correct for me to let that resolve, though. All right, that is not a good draw. Do I want to grief? Again, I think my plan is use this to clear the way for a creature. Just awkward. Blood Moon was very much not on the menu today. Another Chalice. F. All right. Lightning Bolt target you. And this is now my plan. I need to draw one of the 2 copies of Lotus Petal. Now that I have a second one. Oh, I guess I don't control a swamp anymore, and I never will. All right. Noted. All right. I guess I'm glad I countered their card. 1 in 23 chance of drawing a Lotus Petal to be able to do anything. Not great. Anyway, I'm a genius of our age. I am going to grief my opponent again. And it's so awkward that this is a 3-3 right now. I am going to grief my opponent again. Cannot take a chance that they just have a live counter spell or removal spell right now. Alright, they had a dead Narset. They don't have blue. Lotus Petal. I am not quite to kicker territory. Pass this. In play. I'm actually not very good at dealing damage to myself anymore, huh? Because my lands are off as a way to do that. My Thought Seizes are off as a way to do that. I draw Street Wraith. Street Wraith turning this into a 5/5 would also shorten my clock. My opponent's bounce spells are very good if Blood Moon is happening. Okay. From Mox occurs, putting a force under there. So now my opponent has access to blue. Dragon Rage Channeler is not currently a live card due to Chalice. A castable card due to Blood Moon. As a Hull Breacher. That is a rough trade for me. Yep. So we've traded off, and now I have a 1 in 43 chance of drawing a Lotus Petal to be able to play a card. Rough. Alright, there is a Brazen Borrower. That is most unfortunate for me. That is going to just kill me in short order. I'd waited another turn before playing one of these. I could have potentially avoided dying, do something like a Hull Breacher Ambush. But at the same time, like, it could have just been a bounce spell, right? But I can't concede because I still have Meltdown in my deck that can get rid of Chalice. So, like, that's a thing. But life's bad. Great Wraith, you're a couple turns late. Will absolutely cycle you. Alright. Lotus Petal. Scourge. Fortunately, that is a Force of Will. And I don't have a lot of time here. Or actually, with that second Lotus Petal gone, yes. Finish my sentence. I'm going to have to draw a Meltdown in order to do anything. Alright, my opponent's at 2. Or sorry. I don't know exactly what I meant there. I'm going to play Dragon Rage Channeler. Is thick. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to bolt Brazen Borrower. I think I wait until my opponent's turn to do it. I think at 6 life, I just have to take it out of play. Reanimate is a dead card. That goes into graveyard. I will have my opponent on a 3-turn clock with Dragon Rage Channeler. We'll see if this goes anywhere. Attempt 3. Alright, opponent's at 5. Probably have blue cards, Chrome Moxen, that sort of stuff in their hand. Counter spells are reasonable, I guess. That's a weird draw. I think I don't cash that in. There's very few cards that I want to draw right now, and the difference between 4 life and 6 life is maybe relevant. That is a Hull Breacher. Sure. I am dead to a Lightning Bolt. I'm not going to commit to Street Wraith in response to Hull Breacher. If my opponent has fire specifically, I lose if I cycle Street Wraith. Alright. Just for curiosity. Alright, the next card would have gotten me a look at another card. Okay, cool. Yeah, I just wish I had a land here. I don't think Lotus Petal, Dragon Rage Channeler into Bauble is keepable on the play. I think I just have to throw back that hand. Well, this is a fast Death Shadow, right? A real fast Death Shadow. Cycle this. Grief. I don't think I care about that. Bauble my opponent, see what's going on. Is I could change my mind. It is a Bauble of their own. So do I want to Tarnish Citadel? Oh, I guess both are 3 damage. Yeah, I guess both are 3 damage. So let's go ahead and fetch. Go Blood Crypt. Go to 15. Nope. And then Thoughtseize my opponent. Force Pitching Force. That occurs. I have Death Shadow already next turn. So I can go to 12 off Tarnished Citadel. Drawing a black card or a way to negatively impact my own life total is pretty hot here. Well, that's annoying. We're probably playing against like Dragon Rage Channeler, Delver, or Delver adjacent build. Take your card. Dragon Rage Channeler. I think I just play that this turn. It already eats a lightning bolt from my opponent. And like the Death Shadows just get better from here. The thing that I'm most scared of is an opposing second Wasteland. But if my opponent does that, like they're behind on board to a 3/3. Basic, sure. Oh my gosh. This is going to be a pretty decent turn 3. Guy will be happy with this. My opponent's at 15 from that. I drop a city. I play a Death Shadow. There's a Force of Will pitching Ledger Shredder. I think I go for a second one and just try to resolve that one. A Daze gets me there, but this is going to be a 5/5 once it's resolved, which means it's outside of Lightning Bolt range, and I have a 2-turn clock in play. Although I can just like fucking lose the game to Murktide Regent, because, you know, that's legacy. Kappa. The Death Shadow can't quite kill. Damn close. But can't quite kill. Need to take any sort of Lightning Bolt effect that my opponent has. That's awkward. Jump blocker or Death Shadow. I probably have to take that. If I crash in with both of these, opponent blocks here. I can't deal 3 damage to myself or I will die. I can deal 1 damage to myself. I guess I will do so. I'm all in at this point. Like it's this Death Shadow goes all the way or it doesn't. My opponent leaves Murktide Regent back as a blocker, then I can grow Death Shadow out of range of it. This probably isn't good for me. My opponent did not shuffle with that Ponder. Alright, there's the Lightning Bolt. Yep, okay. Yeah. 4 Pyroblasts in again. Like, how on earth am I supposed to take the time off to do this? Also requires an off color. Is not the best. And I just don't think I can ever take a turn off from attacking to get the backside of this. Because Murktide Regent just threatens to kill me in 1 shot. Yeah, I think that's got to come out and like 1 Thoughtseize or something comes out for 4 Pyroblasts. So this is redraw, 6 damage in hand, 1 piece of disruption, second redraw. I think I keep this. Got a second land, if nothing else. Reanimate is a pretty good draw. Let's see what this is. Guess I will Bauble now. See what my opponent is drawing. They're getting a Bauble. That can help me inform my own Thoughtseize decision here. It's Dragon Rage Channeler. That's just my opponent's earliest clock. They get their card, or I get my card rather. Everybody bobbling. Yeah, but I think I am setting up these lightning bolts to answer break. Sure. I think it's time to rebuild the deck. All right. So I've pulled up my initial sort of message with Sean. I just want to read it. So, quote, so Punishing Waterfalls has been having a good amount of success with an aggressive tempo-y shadow scam deck, but has noted it struggles against white removal. Since the deck is already playing bolt effects, I was curious if testing Invasion of Gobakhan in his list made sense, since it's a reasonable-ish effect that leaves behind a bonus permanent that allows you to convert bolts into removal protection. Never seen this card type in action before, and this made sense as a first place to try it. End quote. So let's go back to this list for a minute. So, in theory, if I'm playing this to try to fight against white cards, what am I doing? I am playing this, giving up 3 damage to flip this to the back side, to then sacrifice the back side to stop a 3 mana Swords to Plowshares. So I will have spent 2 mana and either 3 life or a card to tax my opponent for 2. And I know there's other text here, right? There's this like pseudo Luminarch Aspirant scaling effect. And I say Luminarch Aspirant because most of the time I don't expect to have more than one creature on the battlefield. John, I just don't know that this is gonna work. If it has a major weakness to white removal, let's see if I can find another way to address that. I'm gonna go into the tank for a few. Okay, my Streamlabs randomly updated in the middle of me doing this, so if anything seems wonky, let me know. Okay. So ultimately I decided for the sake of this video, I'm going to keep the battles in. Like, let's see if we can get one of those in play and maybe justify casting it one time. I don't think they belong in the deck. I just don't think the value is there for this battle specifically. But to round out this league, I am going to try to make things a little bit better. I cut 2 Lotus Petals for 1 land. I threw in another City of Brass and another Polluted Delta. And then I cut 2 Chain Lightnings for another non-1 CMC threat and another one of these, just so we can see if we can get one into play to see how good it actually is in practice. And then for the sideboard, I took out 3 copies of Deafening Silence for 3 Turok Dread Canter. It's still a card that can be okay versus combo. Not great, but if you do get to 4 mana, it is a Hymn to Turok on a very decently sized body, and it's an okay thing to play out, and then like Grief and Thoughtseize your opponent. But if pro-white is the real issue with the deck, then this is one of the few things that you can play at a low CMC that just fully have protection from white. So let's see how this goes. All right, that's a battle that I might theoretically cast, and I do just have Great Wraith Reanimate on turn 1, followed by battle, followed by attack in. This is absolutely the ideal circumstance to see if this battle is playable. Am I just gonna die on turn 1 though? Do I Street Wraith? That's a weird question. I think I Street Wraith for the life loss here, so that my opponent doesn't randomly take that. Gives my opponent a little more options, but I don't know, maybe that doesn't make sense. A Lightning Bolt. I imagine my opponent takes the battle. I don't know, maybe they take the Reanimate. Take the Reanimate. Might just be faster than the battle. Delta. Unfortunately, I believe the Delta is my play here. I think I'm going to be too slow for something like Doomsday. Kind of what I expect that my opponent is playing, given this opening. So end of turn, let's fetch. I am going to continue to impact my own life total negatively, but I don't think I bolt my opponent. Woohoo. Alright. Alright, let's play the damn battle. Here we go. You just crane your head sideways. Wait, I need to do it this side for you. Crane your head sideways and see what it holds. Oh, sorry. I'm waiting on my own priority pass because of City of Brass. Okay, it is over their Underground Sea. Oh. Not where I expected this was going. Well, this one's really tough. I think I try to kill my opponent before Jace is a problem. No, because they just brainstorm end of turn. Bide 1 turn, probably with him, and then play Jace and bounce my thing that I play. Yeah, take him. Does the creature have to attack to get counters? On each counter that attacks each turn, it does. Alright, I'm gonna settle in for a longer game here. That him's not gone forever, but my relevant stuff should be deployed by the time that matters. Backside of this can help me. Jace bounce in a pinch. Okay, now it's off my opponent's lands. Reanimate. That's not bad. Go ahead and reanimate a Street Wraith. It just blows my opponent's Cling to Dust. That was a bad play. That life gain's also... fucking life gain is gonna make these awful all game. That was a very bad turn on my end. I absolutely just did a dumb. More mana for something that's not Jace. It's the Hymn to Turok. Yep. Alright, so... battle not doing great so far. Flashback Cling to Dust is just gonna, like, basically kill this. 3 life? Is that correct? Cool. Great testing. Alright, one more round and I'm peacing out of the tournament practice room. Alright. Final chance for a battle to be a castable legacy card. So far, score has been sideboarded out. Opponent's revealing a Chancellor. Going to be too slow for interaction, and I am going to die. GG. We're going to lose game 1. Alright, so it seems like my opponent is just going to hard discard a creature here. Oh, fuck, it's Dredge. Analyst Dredge at that. Hi. Okay. My hand's awkward. Hand's really awkward. I don't think I win this. I'm going to try. Blood Crypt. Jock. Fetch. Godless Shrine. Jock. This is 14, which is awkward. I lose out on a lot of really cool lines this turn because of that. But maybe I can end up reanimating something cool from my opponent's graveyard. So, end of turn, some neat stuff is going to happen. My opponent's going to hold... oh, yeah. So, my opponent is going to discard a bunch of cards to this. And then do Dredge nonsense. Alright, there's a Street Wraith. So my opponent gets to Dredge. There's a Narcomoeba. We're in second main phase, so Prized Amalgam is going to trigger. Then we'll come back. My opponent has 2 Bridge from Below in graveyard already. Another Narcomoeba. A Hogak. Hope that Hogak doesn't get into play this turn. Because if it doesn't, I can reanimate it and then play Death's Shadow, question mark, question mark, question mark. Balustrade Spies in there for a combo kill. I'm guessing that's a Flayer of the Hatebound based kill. Not 100% sure. I haven't played Mentalist Dredge in a hot minute. Alright, I eat 4 in the combat step. Actually, is there any world where I want to block in order to get rid of Bridge from Below? Yes, that seems fine. It is 2 Bridge from Belows here, which is a pretty big deal. If I take out this Hogak and play Death Shadow, like, I will have a Swift Clock. It's just like chump blockers for Death Shadow. That end up being a huge problem. Yep. They haven't seen my hand yet, so this is blind. Fortunately, Death Shadow is probably their name. Yeah, if they did a oh, they went Dragon Rage Challenger. If they did a pre-combat Cabal therapy, getting 2 things, then they could have cast Hogak. That would have been significantly worse for me. I think that attack worked out in my favor. Another Reanimate. That is a card. Eagle Legacy. Alright. I will Reanimate. Oh, what the fuck. If it entered from your graveyard. God damn it. God damn it. Wait. Hold on. Can I just kill my opponent with their Balustrade Spy? Yeah, I'm just working too hard. I should have just done that first. Target player. Target my opponent. Yeah, you can have some Narcomoebas. Oh, I guess I could have lost the game to Creeping Chill. My opponent doesn't have it. That was bad. Should have done that prior to a Hogak. So at end of turn, they get a bunch of critters, and then they get milled out. Well, I mean, they're already milled out. They lose when they go to draw or dredge. Okay, so my opponent returned a bunch of stuff in their upkeep. I just skipped over it because it didn't matter. So I have 2 surgicals and 1 fairy that matter here. Snuff Out's not particularly good. Most of my opponent's creatures are black, or like a Narcomoeba can happen and it's bridge from below. That's not actually all that good. I think I go Snuff Out's out and one of these battles out. The whole hexproof and indestructible thing doesn't matter here. I guess taking a card from their hand technically can matter. It's still the worst card in my deck, though. Is that true? Like, is it worse than Street Wraith? Maybe it's not worse than Street Wraith. Okay, so notably here, my opponent has put me on the play. And that's so that they can draw and then immediately discard. I think I just keep this hand. Like, Reanimate does shit in this matchup, and I think I'm okay with that. Hey, its cousin, or other Reanimate, is here. Let's go ahead and do this. Shock for this. I only have 2 card types in here, but I think I go ahead and just do this immediately. My opponent will discard something. A Stinkweed Imp. I can attempt to reanimate that. I believe I begin this turn with a Thoughtseize targeting my opponent, though. Land goes to graveyard. I just want to take an instant speed way getting stuff out of my opponent's graveyard. They have 7 cards in hand, so they can just discard again on their turn. Or no, they'll have 6, and then they'll draw back up to 7. I could take Hogak, reanimate Hogak immediately, or I can just reanimate a Stinkweed Imp this turn and keep them from dredging, and then reanimate Hogak next turn. I think I'm down with that. This is super weird. Alright. Reanimate. Target Stinkweed Imp. Another Thoughtseize? That's just Time Walk. That's fine. 7. Okay, hold on. Quick Life. Okay, yeah, my opponent's dead here. So I take this. I reanimate Hogak. I think whether or not I have life left for Thoughtseize afterwards. Technically, but then City of Brass gets involved. So I would have sent this to the bin despite the fact that it's good. All right, GG's. All right. That brings us to the end of something that arguably we might call Games of Magic. Overall thoughts on the deck list. It feels a little bit smoother with 17 lands than it did with 15. I mulliganed fewer hands in the last game and a half there. Ultimately, if you asked me at the end of the day, why should I play this deck? I don't know what answer I would give you. The deck does an exceptional amount of damage to itself, meaning that powerful singular threats like Murktide Regent can just kill you quickly. And it doesn't actually have very good removal, despite being in Mardu colors that have great removal options. So the second something is a 4/4, I have trouble killing it. And because Lightning Bolt is my primary removal, Snuff Out to a lesser extent is my removal. But normally when I'm in black, I'm so good at removal with things like Fatal Push and Sudden Edict, Liliana. Black has great removal options, but I don't feel that here. When I'm playing against something like Delver, I am boarding in a pile of Pyroblasts, not really to serve as counter spells, but to serve as removal spells, since the main deck is deficient in removal spells. I kind of feel like I'm playing something that is like a glass cannon version of Death's Shadow. And while I can be faster, it comes at the incredible cost of consistency and general matchup spread. So Days Force of Will Thoughtseize as a package gives you just general good stuff to play against decks. And I don't have general good stuff. Right? I'm trying to mess around with this battle, which I don't know is even worth a card by legacy standards. It's a temporary exile spell 2 to cast is not amazing. Backside of this card is not amazing. It's hard on the mana and introduces a third color. And if you view this as like, this is the thing that is keeping me out of blue, that is such a massive cost. And you start doing some other comparisons, like Tombstalker is so noticeably worse than Murktide Regent, just in terms of scaling, being able to pitch to Force of Will, randomly getting bigger later. Like, I definitely made some play errors during this league, but I am not excited about this deck list. I don't feel like the raw power is there. I'm sure we'll try another battle in Legacy. The green one that can fetch Vampire Hexmage has been seeing a little bit of Legacy play, but I would fully say that this one is just outside of the realm of Legacy playability. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. It was a weird air quotes league. If you enjoyed or didn't enjoy, click the like button, send me a comment, give me that feedback, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya.